before, my name is Dan Valamis with Valamis Software Solutions. Just what we're going to talk about today is a little bit of background on IOUG, BWSIG, and just a little bit so you know my background of Valamis Software Solutions. There's going to be a lot of new features that we're going to go over. Most of this is going to be done via demonstration, and then there will be a chance for some more information, kind of a Q&A type opportunity. So, you know, as we go through this, you'll be able to join and be able to talk. I'm also hoping that I believe that Philippe Lyons may be able to join us. Philippe, do I hear? Are you able to answer some questions at the end?
Hello, Dan, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. There's a little bit of background noise and echo, but glad to hear that's doing it. And I can go ahead and control mute you and then put you back. So thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
I'm going to go ahead and mute you for now until we get to that portion so we don't have background noise. So you can use the chat feature or questions to communicate with us on that, and hopefully you can find that on your control panel for GoToWebinar. One thing I want to point out is that we have an upcoming conference. This is BWSIG, big event. BWSIG is a special interest group of the IOUG, of the Independent Oracle User Group, and we'll have a conference on topics just like this taking place January 26th through 28th at the Oracle Headquarters Conference Center. You can get more information at www.bwsummit.org. Just to give you a preview of what that can look like, if I go in here, if you go to www.bwsummit.org, and it looks like this for the home page. We'd love to have you guys join us. If you Sessions tab, we actually have up there a list of the sessions that have been approved at this point. We're still adding to that, but you can see a bunch of great sessions, and if you click on one of them, for instance, you can see information about some of those sessions, and you'll want to attend this conference if this is this type of topic is of interest to you. A little bit about who we are. We were founded back over 20 years ago in Kansas City, and we've just developed all sorts of BI systems. We specialize in Oracle-based data warehousing, business intelligence, data mining, predictive analytics, and data visualization. Indeed, my brother Tim and I are the co-authors of the book on data visualization for Oracle Business Intelligence 11G. So, you know, we do all of that, and we present at various Oracle conferences. I'm also the conference chair for BWS Summit 2014 through 2016, including the upcoming conference. You'll find more information on our website at valamis.com. I'll also mention, it applies to this webcast, that we were beta testers for OBIEE 12C and took it through its paces. So that was pretty good. We enjoyed doing that. This is the first in a series of 5 webcasts that we're doing, kind of a month of IOUG BWA TechCasts. This is on Oracle BI 12.2.1 new features. We'll also have on Monday a 5th annual Oracle Open World 2015 unauthorized BI and analytics scoop session, kind of a more lighthearted session where we talk about what we found at Oracle Open World. And if you're especially interested in the upgrade process for BI 11G to BI 12.2.1, you'll want to attend on December 2nd. That's where we'll go through more those specific features and what that's like and what our experiences were in working through a live client upgrade process. Then we'll be showcasing the data visualization cloud service with a live demonstration of that planned for December 9th. So you'll want to join, and that's when we'll also go over especially the features of data visualization and visual analyzer in more depth. And then we'll repeat this same presentation on December 16th. All those take place at noon on Central Time on that, and you can get more information and sign up for that at valamis.com with this address. If you just link to our papers page, you'll see that. With that, let's jump into the major content for today. So We've given several tech casts on this. If you're interested in why would I want to move from one release to another, this is in a series of BWA tech casts starting with 11.115. We gave a presentation on what was new in that release, and I've selected some of the bullets of some of the major things throughout all those tech casts, and all of those are available on our website, so you can look at those. Indeed, most of them are recorded, so you can replay them. So we'll be doing that, and then you can see the latest was 11.119 in May, and then finally here we are at 12.2.1. So some of the major things, one of the big things for BI 12.2.1, the first release on the 12C, is an Alta user interface skin changes to where it focuses on the content. There's more of a clean page design. This is a topic that is near and dear to our hearts in terms of trying to keep things clean on this. There's also redesigned BI homepage, and that's partly to be consistent with other Oracle products as far as I can tell, and try and spruce up that a little bit, but mostly to flatten things out. With that, let me go ahead and show a little bit of what that looks like. This is what the home page looks like for BI 12. So you'll notice that these colorful icons, if you will, on the side, and then cleaning up this, and you'll see Visual Analyzer Projects is front and center on this. The recent page is still there, and then you have various menu items over the top on this. So that's what the home page looks like for that. We'll come back to this more as we demonstrate more of this stuff. Probably the big item that everybody talks about and everybody's excited about is the new Visual Analyzer data visualizations. And that's there to really ease especially data exploration. There's a whole new interface for that. And I do want to mention right up front, so there's no confusion on this, that it does cost extra. This was announced out at Oracle Open World. The information is available. I don't want to try and get into quoting pricing on the phone, but you'll find it if you just Google the information for this and talk to obviously your local sales rep on exactly what that is. But this is what the page looks like. You know, rather than trying to go through all this with slides, I know I've been in one of these. I just want to see what it looks like. So let me go ahead and just jump into this and showcase what that looks like live. This is what you're looking at as Visual Analyzer running on Sample App, the latest release of Sample App coming out, version 5.11, and running on the 12C platform. We'll talk more about that in a little bit as we go through this. But Sample App has a fantastic set of visualizations and demonstrations of what you can do with Oracle BI product. So this is just an example that they've put together of what that looks like. As you hover over some of these segments, some of the slices of the pie, you can see what's there. We'll go into this a lot more depth, but this is in general what Visual Analyzer looks like. So let me go ahead and start out a little bit and show one of the new features in here is the ability to just type in and be able to see visualizations of your data if you don't even know what's there. This is especially described as appropriate for a mobile type interface where you can speak into a phone or something like that, or a tablet. But if I, for instance, just type in here revenue, you'll see it looks through my RPD file, looks through the data dictionary of what's there, and gives me some choices of what I might want. In this case, I want this sample sales facts. If I type in then office, I want to see information, revenue by office. Okay, yeah, that's the one I want. Now if I put in something like product, it'll give me a list of products. So I'm going to look at revenue by office by product. And there's a whole grammar that goes along with this. And then as I add things to this, it actually, it predicates to this, it changes the visualization of this and makes a best guess as to the way I might want to see this. Perhaps I want to see that as a bar chart. So as I type this in, it is guessing what I want, and then I can see what that looks like. This whole capability is either a search capability or a BI ask. I've heard it referred to as both ways. And then it also presents in Visual Analyzer the ability to see data in a different way. Perhaps that's a little busy once I add the products in there. This is more the visualization I was looking for this, and this breaks it down by product, and I can look at this better. Indeed, if you want to go in more fine-tune things and you don't want to actually use this type of type interface, you can always go in and just open this in Visual Analyzer. And that opens up, takes what you've been typing, loads it into Visual Analyzer with this drag and drop interface, and allows you to more finely control how you want to see this. So for instance, those offices, I want to actually go in here, and this is, if you're familiar with Sample App, you'll recognize this catalog of sample sales. And I can go and just drag office to look at this by color, and the list of choices on the left here allows me to control where I want to see this. Actually, I don't want to see that colored by office. I want to go up here and filter by office. And now I can go in and look at Bluebell, for instance, add in college office, casino, and copper, or whatever. All my choices here for a filter are available, and as I change things in the filter, the visualization is changing automatically for me on the right. So the concept in Visual Analyzer of a filter changes from a set up a query, now look at the results tab, into a much more intuitive, natural interface for being able to explore the data as I want to change things. And so in the older interface, in the answers interface, you'll recall there was a criteria tab and a results tab. And you ended up going back and forth between those tabs depending on what you're doing. And I don't know about you all, but sometimes I felt like that made it harder to use the product. This is a much more intuitive way to navigate through as you make various selections using a filter type of tab. By the way, also, from the very beginning, Oracle included the ability to undo. So there's multi-level undo in here and redo built into the interface in this Visual Analyzer interface. I can also add a new visualization. So I come in here and I can change a visualization type, or I can maximize this, and I can add new visualizations. So let's go ahead and I'm going to add some new things and show a new way of doing this. I'm going to click on month. I want to look at this data also by month and office, and I want to look at revenue. So I control-click those, right-click something, and say, let's create the best visualization for that. The software looks through the data, picks out what the best visualization for that, adds it as an additional visualization for that. I can also maximize this if I want to focus on that exclusively and put it back the way it was. These two panes, these visualizations, are linked, and there's even some very nice features to do something like grab. As I hover over each one of these, you can see which one I am highlighting, and it highlights that line of the graph as I do that. If I want to select what's going on with this section of this graph right here, I can what's called marquee select a given area, and it's going to use points, and then I can right-click that area and specify I want to just keep those selected points. So as you're navigating through the data, and it keeps those in sync between the two presentations. That type of thing is very effective for navigating through the data instead of me having to go back to a filter pane. And notice as a criteria tab. And notice also it's adding to the selection, to the filter selection, those things that I grabbed even when I do something more complicated like a marquee selection. I can also undo that selection, and then perhaps that's what I want to save this as. This looks great. So at the end of all of this, let's go ahead and save this project, and I'll save this as DIWA TechCast 2. Same thing with the ability save this, share with others. That type of stuff is all done through, if you will, the catalog on this. So that just gives you a sense of some of the things you can do with this. Let me go back to the presentation. My intent here is not, frankly, to give a full visual analyzer demonstration, the data visualization. We'll do more of that in the webcast in December. But just to give you a sense of some of the things that are new in this, because we could take the whole time with just the visual analyzer interface. It is very slick, and this is one of the major reasons to move up to OBIE 12. So one of the things also, there is a data mashup capability that if you haven't been following some of the news, detailed news from Oracle, this was available in BI Cloud Services, has been for a while now, but now it comes to OBIEE in the 12C release. You can add your own data file. This concept is a user is looking at the data secured, let's say, and provided by the IT department, and they have, let's say, just an extra spreadsheet that they just want to combine and look at that data, or it may be an independent set of data that they want to use the same tool with, but they don't want to have to go through the process of lobbying IT to move that into the data warehouse, now manipulate it to keep track of how often it's going to be updated, and then also try to figure out how to construct the mapping of that to dimensions and what do we want to call the columns. Doggone it, I just want to be able to look at this data in Oracle BI. Can I do that without the complication of having to map everything with an RPD file? And the answer now with 12 is yes, with this data mashup capability. This is what it looks like, by the way, if you wanted to issue raw select statements. There's an XSA function that allows you to specify what you want to see when you're looking at this. So it's fully implemented in the back end as its own data source. So let me show you a little bit of what that would look like. So let's come up here and let's create a brand new project in this. I do that, I can just click on New Project, and I can specify sample sales. And I'm going to go ahead and add a few things on here just so you can see what this looks like. So let's just create a very quick visualization. And I want to look at things by month. And let's just look at revenue by month. And we'll let it just create the best visualization for that. And now, gee, that looks like it's periodic. Looks like it's probably relatively seasonal, and that's kind of what I expected. But let me go ahead and add in an additional data source. If I just right-click in here and specify I want to see a new data source for this. Data source, and I'm going to go ahead and upload a file in here. So I've got a file already prepared. In this case, it's called seasonality.xlsx, and for now, the limitation, I believe, is just to be able to add data that is in an Excel file. Expect that Oracle is going to increase the capability of that later on. So now I'm uploading the file. This is what it looks like. It's got 4 columns in it. Indeed, if you want to see what it looks like in Excel, I may have that. Oops. All right. So it just looks like this with month, state, the value that's in there, and a seasonality index. This is what the Excel file looks like. And there are options on how it's going to add the file. Again, I don't want to get too much into the details of this. There are many capabilities of how you handle numeric measures. How do you handle dimensions? Obviously, month and state are dimensions. And these are 2 facts that it's going to add. I'm going to go ahead and take the defaults and simply add that to the project. I already have it in there because I was getting ready for this. But do I want to replace it? Sure. Go ahead and replace it. There are also options on how it's going to be merged between the new data source and sample sales. And you can specify in this join condition how they're connected. Obviously, in this case, they're connected by month, but that's fine. Let me get rid of that. Now, at this point, that extra value is in here as yet another, basically another subject area or another data source. So here's sample sales, here's seasonality. So I'm going to take that seasonality index and add it to my graph and drag it over here. And that's the other way of navigating through here rather than right-clicking on things and saying, show best visualization. So where I got that data from, obviously we just put together this spreadsheet. But the concept is I've got some seasonal data that I have done over multiple products. I want to see how that lines up with what I'm getting from this other product, from my RPD, from my repository. So there's no need to edit an RPD file, and we'll go through this more in the Data Visualization Cloud Service presentation, which is really the same interface and how to use the mashup capability to look at spreadsheets, and we'll go over more of the visual analyzer features. But this data mashup capability provides a lot of power to the end users on this. So let's go back and take a look more at some of the features that we have in here. This was the demonstration of Visual Analyzer. I kind of incorporated it into what we were showing here. There are also some end user enhancements. There is an enhanced subject area pane, and it includes the ability to search through the metadata. In some of these cases, rather than going back and showing each one of these, I'm going to go ahead and include some screenshots, and that makes it easier for people to look at this on the web when they download the presentations later, when they see the slides. So for instance, if you just put in a search and type in revenue, you can see where the revenue values are within your subject area. You can also right-click now on all the graphs and cells in here. So if you right-click on this graph, this happens to be showing a forecast, you can see we can sort or drill in here, and the right-click capabilities have been enhanced in the various visualizations. There's also the ability, there's a new view that's in there called a heat matrix view, and it does something that you could do previously, but was a lot harder. And so this column properties over here, actually I think I have this queued up. If I look over here, this is the pivot heat map in Sample App. I'm kind of jumping right into the middle of Sample App here, but there is the ability to create a conditionally formatted pivot table, and that's what does this type of color coding. And the designer of this pivot table has conditionally formatted the revenue figures based on a range that's basically hard-coded in here. It says top 5, top 10, and so forth, but actually it's hard-coded for demonstration purposes. And so you could do that, but then in order to make this more maintainable, it's a lot harder. As a result, Oracle has created something called a pivot heat matrix that does this automatically. And so let me show you what that looks like. In here, as I look at this, let me open this guy up. So this heat map now using conditional formatting, you know, if I load this one from the catalog, this will show you what these look like in the new interface. So I've gone ahead and edited this to include the original pivot table and then this new heat matrix view type. And this I've got configured so that the numbers don't show up until you hover over. Indeed, that's the default configuration of this. But in this case, you can see this is the first quartile, second quartile, third, and fourth quartile. Indeed, if I go ahead and edit this view, you can see a lot of this doesn't change. By the way, with these new visualizations, the layout panel, instead of taking up the upper, is often off to the left now. And it gives you a little more screen real estate to work with. So this is done using percentile binning, and I'm looking at revenue now and the various colors in this. I can choose what color palette, and I can specify quartile or, for that matter, decile, and it automatically adjusts this view and adds the appropriate legend for this automatically. And just like if you're familiar with the map views, you can go ahead and change all this. All that type of stuff is there. And with a visualization and a type of view that is designed to do what we're trying to do and look at things by decile. That is just up here in a new type of visualization that you can look at for this. So if we come back and we look at various types of visualizations, here it is. Heat matrix is just another type of visualization, just like the other types of native visualizations built into OBIEE. And this is, in effect, this is what the answers interface still looks like. Answers is still there with your familiar criteria, results, prompts, and advanced tabs, dashboards, all that. This is the, if you will, older style answers interface that's been improved to flatten things out with that new style. But the visual analyzer is a totally different area of the product, if you will. So bear that in mind. The other way of doing the heat matrix is you could specify the conditional format. Here it is with the different values, and specify exactly what colors you want. And notice it's hard-coded less than 31, 26, and so forth. Now you have something built in. So it's just an extra view type. There's also a method of creating groups and calculated items and measures. There's in here where you can create a new calculated measure, and then you can specify a function. This is the familiar list of functions, but there are some new ones. Notice to date, you may be familiar with that. And there is an analytics, and there's a new one called evaluate script, which is there for evaluating R scripts. And then you can build that directly into your dashboards or into your reports and capitalize on analyzing the data using the language R. That is can run either on the BI server or in the database, and you can specify where you want that to run, and it will provide a lot of power in terms of doing some additional analytics on the data, all built into the OBIEE interface. No longer do you have to plumb all this. You could do this before in 11, but you had to do more of the plumbing yourself. So there are some new analytic capabilities. There's some new pre-built functions and the ability to add the custom R scripts that I showed before. This is an example of looking at the new forecasting capabilities. Let me go ahead and show that while we're here. I'm going to just bring up a dashboard that has that. I'll leave that page. This is the, by the way, I promised I would include some of the stuff from Sample App. This is what you get. If you're not familiar with this, you need to go and download it. And it's a full VM with a lot of demonstrations of how things work. This is just a sampling. This is just the quick start area. If I click on this full index, you can see all the various types of each one of these is a dashboard that you can look at and see how can you do things, and just spend a couple days looking through all the different things. Notice pivot heat map is highlighted in here as a one of the visualizations that I got at, and anything in blue is new stuff in Sample App version 510/511. So let's go ahead and go in here and look at the forecast capability. That's one of the new ones in here. So I'm going to click on this new content and look at forecast in here. So this is something that's been added. This is just a capability. The raw capability to do this is in OBIEE 12, and this dashboard prompt allows you to specify how many months to forecast. You can change this, and this visualization will change. Anything in this more pinkish, purplish color is a forecast, and rather than having to code that back in the RPD file or create something, this is the actual formula. Forecast of revenue by time month, forecast num periods equals 6. And then you can look at revenue as a measure, and forecast is just another measure, and that forecasting capability is directly built in. If you want to see what that looks like, I'll show a little behind the scenes. I enabled the here with Sample App so I can just show you what that looks like. So in here, if I go back to the criteria tab, where you can see where forecast is, here is the formula. And if I go in here and edit the column formula, these are the various functions. Those that are familiar with OBIE will be familiar with all these different groups of functions. What you'll find under time series is a new thing of forecast that you can specify, and under analytics is a bunch of new things with a clustering algorithm, evaluate script. That's where you can include your R stuff, outliers, trends, trend line, and a regression capability. All that new in here to try and actually have more of an analytical capability within OBIEE. So that hopefully gives you a sense of what's here for these analytic functions. I will tell you that it appears from my viewing of this, you still need to go and specify the function for that forecast, but it is something an end user that's kind of a power user could definitely do on this themselves rather than trying to figure this all out. So some other thoughts on this is there is a much cleaner interface for the users. The visual analyzer mashups allow users to explore their own data with this. There's also trend analysis and clustering available directly for the users. That's some of the analytical capabilities I was talking about. There's the new Ask Search capability in the Visual Analyzer home screen that I kind of led off with. And you can also call R functions directly. For the administrator, I'm not going to go as much into the administration features of this, but there's a fast, simple installation. The installation of OBIEE has changed significantly, and it's generally faster and simpler. You install, lay down WebLogic, then you include OBIEE, and it goes faster in terms of when you install this. There's also an out-of-place migration, so you don't impact your 11G environments. It's no secret that there's significant changes with this 12C implementation, so we want to make sure, or Oracle wanted to make sure that did not impact the 11G existing production environments. There's also a migration utility that easily migrates your 11G WebCat, RPD, security schema, all that to the new environment. And one of the things in there, by the way, is this baseline validation tool, which goes back to 11.1171. In the baseline validation tool, we'll get into this a lot more when we talk about the upgrade webcast. But for those that can't make that, just know that that baseline validation tool allows you to compare what's in one schema, indeed down even to what the data looks like versus what it is in the new environment. And the whole goal there is to make it so that people feel much more comfortable in migrating to the new release. So let me go ahead and show you a preview kind of what that looks like. I believe I saw that in here for the baseline validation tool. If I look at the results in here and click in here, it'll give you a sense. This was done previously, but this is an analysis that shows a snapshot of what things look like in one snapshot. So imagine this is Oracle BI 11.119, and this is 12C. And I'm looking at what my dashboards look like in one environment versus the other. And it's telling me what the result of this is, what the score is, how similar it is. And there's actually some very cool ability. You can see the color palette changed a little bit between these. But you can look at what is similar and what is the same, and down to even looking at PDFs of this. Which ones passed, these reports passed. And what you do is you pass basically a list, a branch of a WebCat to this, and the tool will go through, and by the way, it may take a while to run through all these and capture what the screens look like, and then compare those two. So that's the type of thing you get for this baseline validation tool that can be used both for comparing across versions. It can also be used for comparing a dev system against a production system. And there's more capabilities in that I don't have time to go into, but just be aware that that's there, and it's trying to help people make that migration better. All right, so I wanted to be able to show a few more other things in here. Let me go ahead and show some of the dashboard I went through, the forecast stuff in here, and the baseline validation tool were some of the things I wanted to be able to showcase in here. Some of the things in administration and deployment of that, the baseline validation tool is the main method for helping migration and also there's the ability to create bar files, BI archive files basically, that help you back up and migrate your data. So this just gives you, I wanted to give you a snapshot of what that looks like. There's creating a bar from your current environment. You simply install the 12C software, and then you can also export the piece of the baseline validation tool from your 12C environment and then install that into the WebLogic domain of your current environment. Then you can call it to say, where do I want to establish the baseline from? What do I want to take a snapshot of, basically? And then you import that into your target environment, and then that's when you can do your comparison between what was there in the old version and what's there in the new version, just to give you a sense of this. Also, some of the things that change in administration and development of this is the GUIDs. That, I don't know if you, like us, that has been some real problems in keeping those in sync. There's been a routine that you have to run to recalculate the GUIDs. Now that's gone, so we don't even have to worry about that anymore. BI just takes care of that. Also, some of the problems we've had is with OPMN, and now we don't use OPMN to start up and shut down things. It's a much cleaner process now for administering, developing, and servicing the environment for OBIE 12. There's also, by the way, I didn't include a slide on this, but there's also the ability to to take the 12C environment, run on a clustering type of environment. A lot of that has changed, more multi-tenant, but I wanted to feature especially some of the areas that especially users see as opposed to some of the back end such. There's also a reorganized documentation, and this link will take us through the index of that. So if I come in here and look at this, this is what the documentation looks like now. If I go into, by the way, this is nice stuff for getting started and learning about things. If you want to know what's new, just the behind the scenes, how I compile this webcast, is I look at the Books tab and then come down here to places like the user guide for OBIEE. These are the old books. I wanted to point this out because they made things simpler, but sometimes you want to look at the old interface. So if you click on User's Guide to OBIEE, you'll be able to see here's where the new features are, and if you click on that, it'll hyperlink you to enhancements to graphs, enhancements to views, analyses, and so forth. And so if you want to know how I knew that there were heat matrix views, this is where I found it. Editing heat matrix views. A new view type called the heat matrix has been added. This is where the ability to sort graph. You want to know what's the capabilities? This is where it all is documented. And I didn't even get into everything in here. So you'll see that in the documentation. All right, so one of the things I wanted to also showcase is I'm running on the sample app platform version 5.11, and that's going to be available shortly. That is running on OBIEE 12C. It is a virtual machine that you can download and demonstrates all the new features. I have a link to where that is also on the resources slide at the very end, but that runs as a fully contained virtual machine running on top of VirtualBox. There are also some excellent demonstrations on YouTube. If you use this URL, you can come in here and look at a bunch of the recordings of various demonstrations where Oracle has provided this for in here. And by the way, if you come down here and look at a bunch of these, there are a bunch of how-tos. Some of these are very new, some are old. And if you click on the YouTube channel for BI Tech Demo, you can see a lot of what they have in here for this. So it's got some newish stuff in here and some very nice demonstrations in here. All right, just kind of before I get to Q&A, just want to remind you all there's the BWSIG conference. Would love to see you all there at Oracle headquarters. And this is the type of presentation we give. There are about over 90 presentations in a 3-day conference. You can see the list of them. There are we'll be giving other webcasts. This is the one on November 19th. Then we'll be doing the scoop session on November 23rd. Then upgrading from BI 11 to 12. If that's what you're especially interested in, what's the upgrade process like more from a back-end perspective, that's December 2. You'll want to come back. And if you want to see more on Visual Analyzer and also the new data visualization cloud service that was announced at Oracle Open World, we'll have a live demo of that. We're planning on December 9. As I checked yesterday, it still wasn't live out on Oracle. We're hoping it goes live before December 9. And I can prepare a demo of that. And then we'll repeat this broadcast on December 16th. If you want to get more information on that and sign up, here's the URL for getting to that. And you can sign up at this area right in here. There's a register for each one of these, takes you to the link for registering them. And we do also plan on having a replay of the webcast here as we get it recorded. And that way you can share it with others in your organization. With that, let me go ahead and see. I've left a little time for questions. And so put those in the questions box, and I'll try and handle as many of those as I can that have not been handled by others in the call. So go ahead and go through this. Trying to do this via open up people's phone lines proves to be problematic with this many people, but we're also joined by others on the line. Somebody else, go ahead.
Yeah, Dan, this is Tim. So we do have several questions, and some of these might be good to ask Philippe as well.
Great.
So, you know, the first question was on adding a data source at the analytics page. Does it make the same changes in the RPD file? And I wasn't watching where you were doing that data source. So
my understanding on that, and I'll go ahead and Philippe, we'll do this as a correct me when I get it wrong. But my understanding is all the data sources that you add as an end user makes absolutely no changes to the RPD file. And so it's a whole separation of duty here, and I'm not sure you'd want, frankly, end users to be making changes to your RPD file on that so that everybody sees it. So that, if I understand the question right, that I've seen that, we've gone through that multiple times in various sessions with Oracle.
And Dan, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. Thanks, Philippe. Thanks for joining us.
No problem. Thanks for that webcast, and I just wanted to check if you could hear me. And yes, I mean it does not change the repository.
Great.
It does not change the
Indeed, I'll go ahead and you know, this is one of the advantages in you know, me being able to give the webcast, because I don't have to necessarily give the full party line of Oracle. But it does beg the question of, as people use this data mashup capability more and more, you know, do you want everybody to have that capability? And you can turn these things on and off, folks, by, you know, what privileges you give people. And it begs the question, if everybody starts doing that, then, you know, what's the purpose of an RPD file? Does everybody just use mashup? Well, then you don't have a single source of truth anymore and a single way of looking at this in an organization. We can talk for a long time about that. I just want to raise that as a question that you all should be thinking about as you roll this out to your users as well. Tim, what else? Since you've been looking at the questions while I've been presenting, what else?
So we had some questions on integration with EPM, and if it's still an option to use Essbase with OBIEE, and you know, as far as I know, yes. I have not done specific work during the beta on the EPM side, but I don't know if Philippe has any insight also.
No, it's the same from what I understand, but Philippe, go ahead and add anything that you have to add on any of these.
It's the same. You still get Essbase along with OBIEE, and you have a few changes or tweaks to the lifecycle management, but it's the functionality is exactly the same, and Essbase is there. It's actually an upgraded, it's a newer version of Essbase that you're getting with a better usage of memory and a few more features, but it's there.
Okay. What else, Tim?
There was also a question about if forecasting requires the advanced analytics license.
Good question on that. My understanding is does not, just because if you are doing this with the R engine runs on the BI server, but if you try to run it on the database server, you would need, well, it depends on how you do the forecast, I guess. There's multiple ways to do forecasting, but you would want it, if you run it with the Oracle R Enterprise, you'd need it with the database option.
Yeah, so we just had some new questions flowing in, and I don't know if you can probably read those.
Yeah,
as
actually, I
fast
can
as
see them. I'll go ahead and handle some, and you tell me if I miss some. The one question I see here is how can we change the default catalog we're using? Don't know, see any changes in NQS config and instance config even after a different RPD is deployed. I believe you can change the catalog. I just have not gotten into doing that on this. There's been talk about how to best handle multiple catalogs and such. It's been talked about for years. I'm not aware of huge changes in that area. So I think you can change the default catalog, but it's not a wholesale change in this release.
And you can also leverage the, I'm sorry to interrupt, so you can also leverage the 12C bar capability, which allows you to replace the catalog if you need to as well. That's just another media for it.
Yeah, that's a good point, Philippe, and we have not had a chance to do enough of that to talk about the best practices with that. But the bar files, from what we've done in BIX, allow you to kind of switch back and forth between environments very nicely, and that could include catalog environments. It's a very good point, Philippe, to use that. So thank you for chiming in on that. I see also can Visual Analyzer be licensed with OBIEE 11119? I think the question is, can you use it with OBIEE 11119? And the answer, I'm pretty sure, is no. It is a 12C feature. Indeed, this is one of the main reasons that you have to get, that you'll be interested in 12, is for the Visual Analyzer component. And oh, by the way, the data mashup, for one I understand, the ability to implement data mashup is linked to the Visual Analyzer capabilities. So if you want to do that, you also need to have the Visual Analyzer license. But you don't license that with 11119. I see another question. Is the integration with the source control changed or improved? SVN and Git. I'm not aware of that. I did not change. I did not look as much at the in that area, and we'll probably talk more about that in the upgrade piece. But I'm not aware of significant changes in the source control area. I do know it's you know, from talking to Oracle, it's something they're interested in looking at. I don't know of something in 12.2.1 on that. Says, can we upload an Excel file from Answers, or do we need to do it through VA? You know, I'm not sure on that one. I always do it through Visual Analyzer and see it included in the data mashup. I don't recall if it's in Answers or not.
So
now it's in VA.
Yeah.
Say again, Philippe, it's in VA only?
Now, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I believe SmartView still works, and there is an option to, you know, write back, but it's fairly limited compared with the new capability.
Yeah, really, I think of it as a different type of thing. The upload is to add your own data and do data analysis on your own data. And so that's the upload feature. SmartView I think of as more being able to view the data through SmartView. And if people are not aware, this is not a 12C feature. This is back in 11. You have the ability to use SmartView to create brand new analyses of the data through the SmartView interface and basically drive OBIEE from Excel. It doesn't do everything that you might want to do through the web interface, but you can do that through SmartView. and look at the data from Excel in that. Another question is validation tool validates entire content after migration automatically? My understanding on that is no. The validation tool is not meant to be a, here, we just migrate you and validation tool just runs. Think of it more as something that you schedule and you run more manually to look at stuff. And you should also look at one of the reasons I wanted to show that snapshot of what it looks like is, the tool is trying to make its best guess on whether something matches or doesn't match. And I think there's some judgment in the question of, does this match or does it not match? There's the data side of this, and would you, for instance, say that, gee, we changed our metadata such that something that used to say zip now says zip code, and you might say that's fine, that's good enough. We purposely changed that. So the question of match is a little ambiguous in this kind of case. As a result, it's meant to be looked at, not just run automatically and get a pass or a fail, because it's not going to be that simple in the real world. The other question was how 12c supports in-memory feature. I think that really the answer on that is that yes, you can run against the in-memory option of the database if I'm understanding the question right, but it's really at a different level. The in-memory option is a part of the database, and OBIEE is fundamentally middleware that's sitting on a middleware tier. And so in the end, OBIEE is issuing SQL to the database, and in effect, it doesn't even care how the database executes that. It issues the SQL, and if you have the in-memory feature, it'll just execute faster because the data is in memory, and it may be able to do summarization. There's more going on with the in-memory feature than just fast access to the data. It even changes the way algorithmically the data is calculated, if you're not aware, the way it computes aggregates, for instance. It's a very complex feature that has some great performance characteristics for it and changes the way you can do things. But it's not the subject to today's webcast as much. Another question is, with the data mashup, can you limit the size of the XLS file since it's stored on the OBIE server, I assume? It is, I understand, cached on the OBIE server. And yes, there is a limit to it, and you can configure that to some extent on that. Off the top of my head, I'm not remembering, unless it's, I seem to recall 50 megabytes on that. If one of you other panelists happen to know if that's right, let me know. Otherwise, I'll go with that in terms of a limitation on the upload size.
I think you can definitely bring it up to 50 megs. I'm not sure what it comes out by default. So yeah. I'm not sure if it's 50 by default.
And you may be able to ramp it down so that one user does not gobble up everything. There is this question of how much it stores. I remember going through this as we looked at it earlier in the beta cycle. And there are some, let's call it fancy ways of doing this, how they keep track of what's in and what's out of this cache, and how do you then store these spreadsheet files and keep track of it.
Yeah, I think there's also a use case to say that, once you determine that data is important and usable by many people in the system, that you should then go ahead and model it and put it into the repository, and not necessarily keep important, useful information stuck in this, this, in essence, sideline, area.
Yeah, and Tim, that's exactly correct. As you look at this and people share these things, then you start to say, what's the difference? And the difference is somebody has secured it, keeps track of how often it's updated, and it changes the way you look at the data when it's that way. Another question is the integration. What's the integration capability with Hadoop? and basically you can use Hadoop as a data source for this in the RPD for this. That was introduced actually in prior version of this. I'm not aware of changes with that in this specific release. But Philippe, if you have any comment on that, jump in.
I think Impala was also certified in 11.119 and Big Data SQL, the database version of interface.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is all
in Big Data SQL. Okay.
Now the version, there are no major additions, if I recall. Maybe enhancements to these connections, but no major additions there. So you can directly connect to Hadoop and Big Data sources from OBIE server.
Then probably the last question we have time for is what about the performance? I love the new features of data mashup, but what happens with performance when you have 300,000 records to match with your data warehouse? Any limitation? I think in general the answer is yeah. There's going to be limitations in this, and it all depends on how much server power you're going to have on this. I do know from our experimentation that we have not run into significant problems on this. I will tell you just my anecdotal experience in using Visual Analyzer. There are times when it almost demands a different way of demonstrating the product. You should think a little bit about what you're doing, but it allows you to think through that process more effectively. What I mean by that is, in answers, you just drag whatever you want over, and it tries to do whatever it can. But if you do something nonsensical, then it just comes up with something that doesn't necessarily make sense anyway. VA will more likely complain and say, in effect, what you're doing doesn't make any sense. So my point is, do something that's an actual business problem when you're doing this, and it handles it very, very nicely for that. By the same token, when you're looking at performance of this, there's a little bit of, don't ask it to do too much, because you now have a very nice visualization server that is going to display what you ask for and do its best. There are governors built into that so that it doesn't do something too stupid and bog down the system for just one user. But the performance characteristics from what we've used is pretty good on this. With that, we're at the top of the hour, and I just want to thank everybody for participating. As I mentioned earlier in the webcast, we are recording this, and we'll try and make it available on our website at Valamis.com. If you go out there and look at our papers page, you'll see it. Here are all the links to the various things, including sample app, the big long thing. I just Google OBIEE sample app when I try and find it rather than trying to find this URL. There's information on the documentation page and some great demos from the Oracle BI Tech demos. I want to put a special thank you to Philippe for joining us today to handle some of the questions that come out, and thank you all for participating, and join us for our future webcasts. Bye for now.